Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be recreating this look from my 2021 Best of Beauty from the Drugstore video. This video was requested by Monique. Thank you so much for watching my previous video and requesting this one. I hope you and everyone else enjoy this one. But before we get into it, I just want to say I am so excited. I finally learned how to do baby hairs. They're not perfect, but they're mine. But anyways, let's just jump into the makeup. So I zoomed you in so you can see everything that's going on, and today we're going to start with the brows. And I'm going to be using a combination of the NYX Brow Glue and this Profusion Brow Pen. Now, I mentioned in a previous video that I really do like this brow glue. My only complaint is the applicator. I wish it was a little bit longer than this tiny thing. And now that I have the shape I want, I'm going to go ahead and let the brows dry down a little bit before I go in with the Profusion Brow Pen. And I keep wanting to call it the Weekend Brow Pen, but that's the Milani Brow Pen. The nice thing about brow pens is that they're harder to mess up, in my opinion, because they're not leaving these giant streaks. You're really able to get hair-like strokes. And you're not having to worry so much about how much pressure you're applying. Well, you do, but not as much as with a pomade. Now I'm going to go ahead and carve out the eyebrows, and yes, I have been doing this, and I love the way that it looks. And the concealer I'm using for this is the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Honey. You guys already know this is one of my favorite concealers, and I'm also going to be using this under the eyes as well. The key to carving your brows out without it looking too intense is picking a shade or two lighter and not going too light there. So as you can see, this honey shade is definitely lighter than my skin tone, but only by about 2 shades. And the eyeshadow primer I've been loving is the Milani eyeshadow primer. Now, I do wish that it came in a more opaque shade, but what I like to do is actually mix a little bit of this in with the concealer that I use to carve out my brows. That way I'm getting the benefits of the eyeshadow primer, but it's also blanking out the veins and discoloration that I have on my eyelids. And you don't have to necessarily do this with just the Too Faced concealer. This works with all of the other concealers I've used it with as well. It does obviously sheer down the concealer, but it's still enough coverage there for me, especially considering I'm going at it with eyeshadow. All right, now that the eyes are all prepped, I'm gonna go in with the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes eyeshadow palette. Guys, you already know I haven't put this down since I got it. I did break it, so, you know, there's that. But there are the shades there in case you haven't seen them. I'm going to start by taking the shade Matte 2 all over the lid to act as a priming shade. It pretty much is the same shade as my lid right now with the primer. Next, I'm taking the Matte 8 shade in my crease as a transition shade. And while I am getting this blended out, how were your holidays? I hope that they were amazing, and I know I had a wonderful time spending time with family and friends and just, you know, seeing everybody. My husband Andy is currently out of town because he is helping his family move across the country to their new home. And while I'm so happy that, you know, he's being so helpful with his family, I miss him a lot, and it'll be a total of a week, you know, by the time that he gets back. And this is the longest that we've been apart in a while. And it sucks. Like, you know, when you have your person, it's really hard, excuse me, to be apart from them for so long. I actually have been thinking about sharing him more with you guys on my channel here, just because obviously he's a huge part of my life, and I know that he would have a lot of fun with it too. So let me know what you guys think. Would you want to see videos with Andy in them? All right, and I should have said this as I was blending out, but I focused this on the outer corner of my eyes and then blended it inwards. It looks like I've used 2 different shades here, but really I've just been, you know, kind of focusing on building it up in this corner and blending it out. I didn't place any here. I placed it directly here, blended it in. Directly here, blended it in. but made sure that it was over my lid space area. Next, I'm going in with a mixture of matte 6 and matte 11 in the outer V. And the nice thing about this look is you can customize it to any shades that you want. You don't necessarily have to follow the exact same shades that I'm using, but you can still get a very similar effect, especially if you're not wanting to go as deep as I'm going now. And now I'm taking the same brush that I used to apply the transition shade and using it to blend this deeper shade into the transition shade. Now I'm going to dip back into the transition shade, that matte 8, and go just in the outer upper corners just to kind of bring it back a little bit. With looks like this, you know, a lot of it is just going back and repeating the steps. Alrighty, I think everything is looking wonderful so far. And now we're dipping back into the palette, and I'm going to be mixing matte 1 and matte 2 to create a pretty light beigey shade to go in the inner corner area. And this is really going to help the glitter that we're going to be adding really pop. And speaking of glitter, we're going to go in with the Kaja Beauty Bento stack, and this is in the Orange Blossom colorway, and I'm using the top shade from this. Now I love, oh, could you even see that? There we go. Now I love this stack because I use all 3 shades, and I like to use the bottom shade, the deeper one, all over the lid whenever I'm doing nothing else, and I want more of just a wet glittery look that is like my exact skin tone shade. But today we're going to be using the top one because we want that nice bright highlighted effect in the inner corner. And for these you can use your fingers or a brush, but I'm going to go ahead and use my fingers. Alright, now we're dipping back into the palette and we're going to use matte 11 all by itself to create a shadow liner. Now we are going to go in with liquid liner a little bit later, but I want to create the shadow liner first. And you want to be really careful not to bring it up too far on the lid. And I like to use a smudger brush to do this so it doesn't create any harsh lines. And I like to do this now whether or not I'm wearing liquid eyeliner, but I like doing this with liquid eyeliner in particular because it makes the difference between the liner and your eyeshadow not as stark, and therefore it gives it that more natural, sultry appearance. Alright, now we're going to leave the eyes alone for now and move on to the complexion. And I'm going to go ahead and prime the skin using my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. If you don't have this product, any glowy primer will do. If you're looking for a recommendation, a really nice one at the drugstore is this Maybelline 4-in-1 Perfector. Not quite a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, but it gives a very similar effect. For the Flawless Filter, I'm going in with the shade Tan 5.5. And what you didn't see is prior to coming on camera, I did prep using the Good Molecules Silicone-Free Priming Moisturizer. It's a pretty standard run-of-the-mill priming moisturizer. Really just trying to get through it. There's nothing wrong with it, but nothing really to write home about either. So glowy primers, not just this Hollywood Flawless Filter, but glowy primers in general have become part of my everyday makeup routine, because I do lean more towards matte or satin matte complexion products if I am wearing them, and I like to kind of balance that out with my primer. Also, especially in the winter, I deal with dull skin, and I want to kind of juice it up a little bit by using either a glowy primer or a plumping primer. And for the complexion, I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty Ease Drops in the shade 16, and this is another product I have been loving so much since I picked it up. I found that my favorite way to apply it is by squirting it on the back of my hand and then applying it with my finger like this and blending it out with a brush. And if you don't have this particular product, what you're looking for in characteristics is a foundation or skin tint CC cream that is either satin or matte and has about medium coverage. And as you can see, this just blends beautifully on the skin. And you can also see that dewiness from the Charlotte Tilbury product underneath. And that is exactly what we are going for. Alright, and for concealer, like I said, I am going in with the Too Faced one. And I have reduced my use of concealer, especially with this one. I was going overboard with it at some point, and I realized it when I would use like a skin tint and then use this and be like, oh my gosh, skin tint's full coverage. And then I realized, like, no, it's, honey, it's, you put on 2 tons of concealer. That's what's full coverage. So I'm just focusing it here. You can always add more if you need. I do like to let this concealer sit for a little bit before I blend it out, so I'm going to go ahead and go in with my cream bronzer, and I'm going to use the Fenty Beauty Matchstick in the shade Truffle, and I'm actually almost out of this. This is it turned all the way up. While this is marketed as a contour product, this shade for me is more of a bronzer shade. And I won't be going in with any bronzer. I'm just gonna allow this, I'm not gonna be going in with any contour. We're going to allow the bronzer to do the sculpting here. Of course, if I'm going for like a full snatch, I'll definitely go in and contour with something a little bit cooler with different placements. But for this look, I just wanted to keep it a little bit softer. Alrighty, now it's time to blend out this concealer. And I always start with where I need the least coverage and end where I need the most. And to set the under eye and everywhere else I have concealer, I'm going to go in with my Mercier translucent loose setting powder and a brush. Just get a little bit on my brush, tap the excess off, and then press it into the skin. And if you don't have this Mercier powder, I recommend the Maybelline Loose Fit Me setting powder. That is another wonderful one. While the Fenty Matchsticks actually has a pretty good wear time, I like to beef it up a little bit by setting my cream bronzer, and I'm going to use the Thrive Powder Bronzer to do that, and this is in the shade Paloma. And you can see how much I love this bronzer. For blush, I used the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso, and I promise you guys I will try other blushes in 2022. I know that like I have used the hell out of this thing. I just, what can I say? I love it. And I like it for the very subtle pink, but also for the glow that it gives, the very beautiful glow that it adds to the skin there. For highlighter, in that particular video, I used the AOA Studio liquid highlighter that I love. I believe it's called the Glow Baby liquid highlighter. I will have a picture for you on the screen here. That stuff is amazing and it's $1. Definitely check it out. But today I'm gonna go ahead and use the highlighter out of the Kosas Velvet Melon Color and Light Cream. I'm actually not a huge fan of the blush side of this, but I really like the cream highlighter. You do have to warm it up a little bit, in my opinion, but then I like to take some on my finger, right here, and then put it on the back of my hand, and then pick that up with a brush. It gives a beautiful, soft focus glow, and the cream makes it so that you can blend it over top of just your skin or on top of powder. And take a little bit on my nose here. And even though I still love my powder highlighters, I've been absolutely loving my liquid highlighters and my cream highlighters just because of how natural they look on the skin. So that is it for the complexion. We're going to go ahead and jump back to the eyes, and we are going to go back into the Makeup by Mario palette. And we're going to start by going in the lower lash line with Matte 8. And I'm going in with a smudger brush for this. And now I'm going to go in with a much smaller, more precise brush and pick up Matte 11 and go in the lower lash line, but only in the outer corner. And now it is time for that liquid liner, and I'm going to go in with the Essence Super Precise Eyeliner in the shade Black. And for this look, I did go ahead and wing it all the way out. A pretty intense wing. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing today. And when I'm drawing in my liner, I like to kind of aim the tail for the very, very end of my brow towards that direction. Now, what I did to intensify the eye look was actually go in with some of these lashes here on the outer corner. These are some 3D faux mink individual lashes that I actually got from the dollar store, and I love them. And I went in and put 2 sets on each side, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll be back to finish up lips. So I'm back, and I ended up using 3 sets on each side, and I just love how fluffy and wispy my lashes look now. What do you guys think? I mean, they're from the Dollar Tree, or I guess the $1.25 tree soon. I don't even want to talk about that. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and move on to lips, and this is an all drugstore lip combo that I'm so excited to share with you guys. So starting with the lip liner, we're gonna go in with this NYX lip pencil in the shade Downtown Beauty. And this has been my go-to lip pencil shade, and it replaced my KKW Nude 2 lip pencil. And the lipstick is the Milani Color Fetish matte lipstick in the shade 420 Tease. We're going to go back and redefine with a little bit of the lip liner. And if you want to keep things matte, you can keep it like this, or you can top things off with another Milani product, and this is the Keep It Full Plumping Lip Gloss. This is in the shade 15 Natural Luster. And to me, once I put that lip gloss on, boy, she's here. Last close-up before we zoom out to end the video. Here is the final look. I love how it turned out. I think it turned out even better than when I did it originally. I hope you enjoyed this video, and Monique, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks again for recommending it. And if anybody else has any recommendations they'd like to see, any videos you want to see from me, please let me know in the comments down below. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. I hope you are having the best day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.